Let's welcome in right now former congressman from the great state of Texas and author of Revival, Revolution, Rebirth, a radical call from the former majority leader of the United States House of Representatives, Congressman Tom DeLay. Hello, sir.
Hello, Steve.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
So what do you think? I see I'm rooting for Keith Ellison to be the head of the DNC, an anti-Semite, in my opinion, who once called for blacks to have their own country in this country. I think he'd be a great choice.
He's as far left as you can get. It would be a wonderful pick for the DNC. They could dig that hole even deeper, all the way to China. He is the most radical member of the House of Representatives. And if they pick him, it's smooth sailing for Republicans for years.
Yeah, absolutely. How can they even consider this? Of course, the media doesn't talk about this man's baggage in history, so that's how they get away with it on the surface. But my goodness.
He's a racist. He's a black racist. And you can't say it any plainer than that. Look at what he's done. Look at how he talks. He's a socialist, racist, leftist, whatever you want to call him. And if that's going to be the face of the Democratic Party, more power to them.
All right, now let's talk about a completely different current member of Congress, and that is the man who has been tabbed to be the HHS Secretary, Congressman Tom Price. What a great pick.
Oh yeah, that's one of the best picks he's done so far. The other one is Betsy DeVos at the Department of Education, but Tom Price was the leader against Obamacare. He understands Obamacare. He's actually read the law on Obamacare. The only thing that I hope he will do, which I know it's in him because I know him very well, is that this replace thing has got to go. People need to understand that there is nowhere in the Constitution that gives Congress or the federal government the authority to be involved in health care. And people need to understand that. There's no replacement that isn't unconstitutional. If the states want to do this kind of thing, then the states have every right to do so. But the federal government needs to get out of health care and stay out of it.
That's interesting. Do you think that that's what Tom Price has in mind?
I know that's where he's starting from. He understands that, and in fact, the bills that he authored to appeal Obamacare were most of them were very constitutional. Selling health insurance across state lines, that's constitutional. That's within the Constitution. But this whole notion of setting up a new welfare program and subsidizing people's health care insurance is unconstitutional for the federal government to do.
What do you make of the sweepstakes for the Secretary of State? A second meeting today, reportedly, with one Mitt Romney, while, of course, he had meetings with Petraeus yesterday. And, of course, we know that Giuliani's name is still bandied about, as is Bob Corker. Where do you fall, and what do you think's going on here?
Well, he's struggling. I think he's getting a lot of pressure from a lot of different groups. There's the Giuliani supporters that are obvious, and Huckabee and Gingrich and even Kellyanne Conway. There's others that probably want John Bolton. I think this is pressure coming from the Trump supporters, and it was evidenced by his Trump's inner circle going out in the media and fighting this internal fight, which I think is very unusual, and it looks like Trump approved it. But if that's his management style, I think he's going to rue the day that you let your internal fights find their way into the media.
What do you think of Donald Trump's tweet today calling for a year in jail or loss of citizenship for flag burning? Of course, that can't happen now. It's constitutionally protected. But what do you think about that?
Steve, I disagree with you. It's not constitutional protected. The Supreme Court ruled that way, but a ruling by the Supreme Court, according to Article 3 of the Constitution, is only a suggestion if it's not supported by the executive branch and the legislative branch. And if you look at Article 3, there's also opportunities for Congress to limit the jurisdiction of the courts and tell the courts what cases they can hear. I passed a bill, my last year's majority leader, telling the Supreme Court that they could not hear a case on flag burning. It passed the House and never got through the Senate, but that's what the Congress needs to do. They need to pass a limiting jurisdiction bill telling the judiciary that they can't hear cases on burning the flag, and then pass a statute making it illegal and providing a punishment for those that do so.
So Congress can pass those bills that you just talked about. Someone gets convicted of burning the flag and they're sentenced and they appeal it and it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to sit there and look at their previous ruling, and how do they reconcile that? That's
up to them. They're an equal branch of government, but the point is if you read Article 3, there's a glaring omission in Article 3. There is no enforcement mechanism in Article 3. Enforcement of rulings by the judiciary has to come from the executive branch and or the legislative branch. And it's very clear in the Constitution that they'll have to deal with that and wrestle with that.
Right.
But we as Americans need to understand, and Trump needs to understand, that a ruling by the Supreme Court is not settled law.
Gotcha. Very interesting conversation as always, Congressman. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Steve.
Congressman Tom DeLay, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Did you know, as we talked about, that Keith Ellison has proposed a black state? He did once propose a black state for blacks living in this country to have their own country. We'll talk about that and more with the panel. So please do not go away.